Welcome to the Better Questions Podcast, a show where we dare to go deeper. We are opening space for more honest conversation, slow, meaningful insights in a fast-moving world. Every week we pick a topic and sit down with thinkers, doers, and challengers, not only to hear not what they already know, but to explore what they are still learning. Maybe the right question at the right time can change everything. And now, here's the host of the Better Questions Podcast, Kevin Hoey.
Better Questions fan, look, Michael Leib is an entrepreneur in a space that is a passion of mine, motocross, so I'm excited to start talking about motocross stuff. The outlook's bleak, but we're gonna push to make it better. I'm super stoked because this is the first time I get to talk about my main jam. I love dirt bikes and motocross, so I finally get to explore the business of dirt bikes with a dude. And you were a professional, is that right?
Yeah.
You right? Okay.
For 10 years.
Okay, so before we exhaust the audience with a bunch of moto talk, do you mind just quick birth to today? How did the Michael before me come to exist? Where were you born? The whole.
My dad, he raced motorcycles for quite a while, but his parents never really supported him with his racing side, so he had to start late when he could afford to basically drive himself to the track and buy his own bike. He got into Baja and some other stuff. He wasn't necessarily a pro, but he was good. Just only support from basically himself. When I was born, that's the first thing I remember was motorcycles. I was off training wheels at 2, and I won my first race when I was 4 years old. And I think the story was that he looked at my mom and said that we're not racing again until we're sure that that's what I want to do. And we started racing seriously in the amateur side when I was 8. From there, we traveled all over the world, all over the country, doing the Loretta's, the amateur national side of things, just busy on that front. I won 3 amateur championships. I got hurt a lot. I was a little guy getting on a bigger bike because on the amateur side, it's always age group, kind of moving you up to the next class. Won Loretta's in 2009, and then I turned pro in 2010. My first professional race ended up being in Spain. I actually got a call from a team over in Europe called Bud Racing in 2010, and I turned pro on the MXGP side. Spent 2.5 years over there, had 1 GP podium, had some mild success. It was a difficult place to be when I was 17, moving over there alone, and that was definitely some challenging character building years. Then I started racing the West Coast Supercross side for quite a while, and did that from 2012 through 2020. Somewhere in 2015, I started Canvas MX, and in the middle of all that, we basically kind of built a brand while I was racing alongside doing some different marketing sides of things and kind of strategizing different ways to use gear in the terms of how NASCAR would, and labeling myself differently and basically raising sponsorship money in a way that no one has in our sport before. And in 2020, when I quit racing, a couple years later, I started a company called Lucid, which was a manufacturing entity for me to be able to produce my own product for Canvas. And jumped headfirst into that. 6 figures a month of overhead was definitely a big wake-up call after racing dirt bikes my whole life. And yeah, bleep around and find out is kind of a little bit my motto. But now we produce for a lot of the major gear brands in the sport. We produce for a lot of the other brands in our industry that are big name brands, and we're trying to pave the way to basically making gear in America and doing things a lot differently in our industry than they've been done before. I now run 4 different businesses, and we just recently licensed No Fear with a partner of mine in Australia, Tom, and we're going to be bringing No Fear back too. So got my hands in plenty at the moment.
Oh, do people know that? Is that public? Does everybody but me? Yep. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Dang. All right, wait, before we go straight moto, you told me the whole motor. So, siblings, are you?
I got a sister. She's 3 years older.
Okay. And are you born in Cali?
Born in Cali. I'm still in Cali, and my whole family left me and went to Georgia and Florida.
Okay, got it. And any other wicked? So no schooling for you beyond high school? Did you go to college?
My mom's got a cool story. In 2002, I would have been 10 years old, she started a company called On Track. She had her master's in teaching. She was actually my substitute teacher at my public school up in the mountains in Arrowhead, and she built a company called On Track, and On Track is a public distance learning school, K through 12, and she's got a ton of students, and she's grown that thing to a hell of a little empire in the last 20 plus years. But my mom is definitely one of my biggest role models, especially when it comes to outside of life, obviously in business, but she's an animal.
That's awesome. So you did you do your schooling through her, or you went to a
fifth grade? Yeah, 5th grade out, I was homeschooled. Yeah.
Okay. And no college stuff? Did you do college?
Didn't do any college. School hard
I
knocks.
wish so bad. So I was like the dorky valedictorian. Like I got straight. Nobody would have predicted me to be about like. Not true. That's not actually true. I just got straight A's my first semester, and then I never let it go. I wasted so much time on that degree. I wish so badly that I didn't go to college. But I'm a nerd. So that's cool. Do 4 businesses. So we've got Lucid, Canvas. What are the other 2?
SMX jerseys.
Okay.
Replica jersey, and then I got an apparel business that we run, and then No Fear.
Got it. Right. All right. So here's my big thing. Like I think like every kid should get the chance to ride a dirt bike, and that's maybe never going to happen. But like I want to be a big track advocate. I feel like if we don't defend our tracks, like nobody's going to be riding dirt bikes much longer. Or I shouldn't say that. Nobody in middle class. Like it's going to become like only another rich man's sport, like racing cars and whatever. So like there's a whole side of it I want to explore there. But from your side, why don't we talk about the gap you're filling as you see it? So the gap that I see, another gap that I make, is like I just don't think that pickleball and wrestling should be bigger than our sport. And like I do think there's so much room for like it's hard to watch, right? If you're not into the sport, you don't know. It's very hard. It's like should be the most exciting moment in sports event ever, and it's like you watch for 4 hours and you miss like half the passes. You don't see all the crashes. Very hard to follow the storyline. So we can get into that later, but why don't we talk about the gap you're filling?
I mean, the gap that I'm filling came from a gap in racing that I had. So like, Canvas was started in 2015 after my big career injury that kind of ended my upward trajectory in racing. I had a gear deal with Axo in 2014. It was a decent gear deal, and as a privateer spending $150 grand a year to go and race, call it 10 to 15 races a year, if you're getting, call it 20-30 grand from a gear brand, that's quite a bit of money coming in just from that side of things. So on my end, it was an important situation. So, but gear has never been done differently. Like you have your Fox, your Thors, your Flies, and you have those brands, but they're the primary real estate when it comes to branding. When you look at NASCAR, you're looking at Lowe's, you're looking at Home Depot, M&M's, etc., right? I got hurt in, let me back up a little bit. So 2014, I signed my deal into 2015, and when I signed my deal, contracts for gear are done in October. And in December, this particular gear brand decided to pull out of North America, and they had some big financial problems, and they had to back out of my deal completely. And when that happened, it was a major punch to the gut. I was left without any money to go racing as far as the gear side was being lucrative for me, and we had like 3 or 4 weeks to find a different route for gear. So I went and knocked on all the other gear companies' doors. Their budgets were spent for the following year. The game was over, right? So what do? My dad and I are literally watching NASCAR in the backyard, and we're looking at FedEx, we're looking at M&M's, and we're like, why don't we go and get title sponsor per round and get all white gear, which no one's ever done, and see if we could sell per round. A lot easier to go get, call it 5 to 10 grand from 7 companies than say 100 grand from one, right? So what we did was we basically targeted like small mom and pop shops at local venues of Anaheim, of Houston, of Phoenix, of wherever we were racing that weekend, and we were able to raise 5 to 10 grand a round, and we were able to basically sell the advertisement space on all white gear and sell the prime real estate. I got hurt at round 4 in Oakland, and I had a call from a company in Argentina called Radical, who ended up becoming family to me, and we started selling all white and all black gear, and that's when Canvas was born. I was on the couch for 9 months and started a business at God, I was 24, 23, 24, somewhere in that window. And that's how Canvas started. And now it's a full custom gear company. We produce it in-house, and we produce for major gear brands in the industry currently, and a lot of other really large brands outside of the industry as well.
So Radical, when you say Radical called you, that's when the white, you got hurt, they called you and they wanted a partner on the white gear?
They talked to me about being able to sell all the black and white gear, and they basically supplied me as a manufacturer.
Got it. Okay. And then you're doing North American manufacturing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Since then, it took me about 6-7 years, but they were actually a partner in the manufacturing side with me now, which is known as Lucid, and Lucid is the manufacturing hub for all these different entities.
Okay. So I want to get in. All right. For racers, so you've got factory teams. So you've got 5 factory teams: Yamaha, Honda, Suzuki. Let's say 5 or 6. There's more teams, but if you're super fast as an amateur, top of your class, like 2 to 5 riders per factory team. Those guys are making good money to ride dirt bikes, right? Like the topper. Is that a fair categorization? They're making
Depends what you call good money.
Do you know? Are we able? Can we talk about it? Like,
yeah, your first.
If you're finishing top 10, as a professional in lights or 450s, like what?
So
what was the range?
I've got a hand. Okay, let's say 250 class. I've got a handful of 6th place finishes. I've got a ton of top 10s. My 6th place finish would pay me from the series $680, which I think now has gone up to like $2,300. Okay. But that round cost me $6,000 to go to. That's fuel, that's trainer, that's mechanic, that's bike, that's everything all in, right? So especially if you think about when I was racing at the time at $680, what the heck are you doing, right? So now I was a 6th place guy for many years, top 10 guy for almost all my years, but I wasn't making hardly 30-40 grand from the series to go do what I was doing, right? Where let's say guys that were behind me and in front of me that are part of, say, a pro circuit team or something like that, those guys are all 100, call it 175. They're on huge bonus incentives. They make more money when they do well. So
100 to 100. So is that per race, or that's their annual?
A year. A year.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you've got your 450 guys are obviously making more money. You could call it your top 3 or 4 guys are making a couple million a year. But other than that, it's a pretty substantial drop down when you get past that 4th, 5th place guy. It's a huge drop down.
And so there's So if you got factory ride, that's what I'm talking about. Or can we assume all the factory guys are making decent money? They're making deep 6 figures at a minimum.
I would say so, yeah.
So they're like making good enough money, and then it just drops. There's like no parity. Like privateer. Is it pretty much nothing? Like it's expensive to ride the dirt bikes, or is there? And I'm gonna take out the innovator. It sounds like you're an innovator, like just a guy that's riding a dirt bike that's not doing. Like you have to go make your own deals and do all that. And I want to get into that, but generally speaking, it's like your top 5 to 10 guys making money, and then everybody else is struggling, or is there a middle class there that there's money to be made as a rider, or not even?
There's a middle class around there. I mean, your 250s are actually more expensive to build. You're dumping more money into a 250 than you are a 450 just for the sense of performance, right? Where a 450 you don't have to dump as much money into because they're pretty good motors right out of the box. You got to do a couple things, but not near as much as what you got to do on a 250. In the 250, you run them so advanced that you're on like a ticking time bomb. They're 3-hour motors, so every 2 races you're tearing them down and rebuilding cranks and heads and pistons and valves, right? Where I guess to answer your question, the SMX series that added the playoffs at the end, for the 450 guys, they've got a chance to go make 30, 40, 50, 60 grand at, call it that 10 to 15 place guy. It's decent money, and especially if you kind of factor the fact that that's after what they've already done through the year, and that those are just 3 more races at the end of the season, where, I mean, dude, most of these guys are just paying to get to the next race. And then they're trying to get into the main event so that they can have enough money to go to the next race. It's that kind of program for a lot of the guys out there.
And so let's just say you and I adopt a kid. That's weird, but we're like, all right, we're gonna go get you in the race.
I'm giving them golf clubs.
Yeah. Are you? You wouldn't even let him? Would you not? You wouldn't let him?
Listen, I love this sport. Okay. I don't want to take away from the fact that this sport is my life. I love this sport. What this sport has taught me is everything that I am today and everything that I'm going to become tomorrow. And I'm thankful for every step of that way. Been through hell. I've had a lot of hard times. I've broken over 120 bones. I've had 20 surgeries. I've had 10 concussions. I'm 34 years old. I've got a fused ankle, and what do I have to necessarily show for it? I would have had a lot more to show for it had I been a football player or a baseball player or anything else besides this sport. Why this sport is the way that it is, and we have, I think, bar none, the coolest, most physically active, advanced sport in the world. It breaks my heart. It sucks to see. Canvas in one way or another is something that is built to try to build a different way for riders to do something different. The SMX Jersey program I'm trying to build it would be the only passive income that a rider would have in this industry off of anything out there right now. That's embarrassing as a sport for us to say. There's nothing out there that people can go get a royalty from like we give them at the SMX Jersey program, and we connect a fan to a number one asked for product, right? So almost everything that I do in the sport is to try to make a better connection for a fan and a better connection for a rider, and a different way for people to create a monetary value off of a product that you can't make anywhere in North America. I don't really know a better way to put it than that. Now, if we adopt a kid and we go push him to race dirt bikes, man, it's not for an ROI. I'll tell you that.
Not today. No.
It's dangerous as hell. I've got friends that have gotten killed. I've got friends that are paralyzed. I've gotten friends that have lost everything trying to chase a dream and come out the other end with absolutely nothing. I've seen the best of the sport. I've seen the worst of it. I want the sport to be a better place, but I think that the things that have to change and shift for that to happen, I'm afraid if they're too far-fetched.
Anything is possible for he who believes. I've got a clear path through it. You might not believe it, and I think it could change. But so before, I just want to make sure. So I want to understand how canvas is different. But so let's just say in this marriage, I win and the kid's racing because he wants to race, and even if it doesn't make money, I'm making money elsewhere. Let's just go to that hypothetical. But we want to be good stewards. We're not just. So my first question would be, realistically, and we want to give him every chance he can, but we're going to do it on a shoestring, right? We're not like we don't have Bezos dollars, but we have some dollars. Like, and I'm like, what was annually? If we don't want to make any money, the kid can live, and he can ride dirt bike. Like, what would you say is going to cost us? Like to get one. Let's say we pick him up when he's. I don't know. When would we have to start him racing to give him an honest shot? You have to start racing. You got to start racing when you're young to be.
There's very few that do it later, but you got.
Mare's a jet skier, right? Okay, so let's start at 6.
Things were different then.
Yeah. Well, let's say we start at 6. Like, what's the budget for a kid racing at 6, and then what's the kid budget at like 18? He's doing the Reddit and all that. Like, I'm looking for a bracket here of like. Annually, what you think it would take?
If you're 6 or 7, you're still spending 50 to 70 grand, and if you're 18, you're probably spending 150 plus to go do just the amateur side.
Okay, 50 to 70K, and so most families are like giving up their college tuition, their whole life. If they got a kid that's racing, you're like that. That is how I assess it too. It's like it's painfully expensive to actually do it.
A lot of these kids live in motorhomes at training facilities.
And then you said, how much did you say at 18? 150K?
150 plus.
And now, yeah, okay. And so what is like, so if we were sitting here, and so do we go, we try to find a local dealership that's going to give us a deal on a bike, so we're not going to really get much of, like, they're going to give it to us at cost, so instead of a $10,000 bike, we get an $8,000 bike, and then, like, do we go, like, walk me through kind of the whole sequence, at, like, not painstaking details, but, like, what would it look like? What would that journey look like?
You need 3 to 4 bikes. You're going to need 2 practice bikes, a parts bike, and a race bike. You know, so right there alone, if you're buying, call it a big bike, you're borderline, say $35K just on bikes. You're going to be probably four grand a motor to do it right. You're going to be $4,000 per bike on suspension. You're going to be a ridiculous amount of money just traveling in gas and fuel. You're going to be, you know, depending on if you're getting helmets and boots and all that stuff for free, that stuff you can probably get pretty good deals on. You know, gear, etc. Like, you know, you're probably 60 to 70 grand before you're even racing.
And then
that includes trainer, that includes mechanic, that includes all the parts, that includes the motor, that includes like a solid package to go race with.
And can we compete? And like legitimately, can you find a trainer mech, or you got to have 2? You need 2. You need a dedicated trainer and a dedicated mech, or how would that?
I don't know any trainers that are mechanics or mechanics that are really trainers.
So you need both. And are you generally like signing up, like Club MX runs it? Is that the way to do it? Is to start at a training facility?
Way to do it. I mean, something that like a lot of these training facilities are crushing it with, you know, is they're putting these kids in race simulations every day, and that is the way to do it. You know, rather than going to the track and practicing yourself or just being around those guys, it's different when you are essentially pushing each other, essentially race every day, right?
Okay, so absent some sort of violent disruption, like it's extremely expensive to race. Now, how does Canva intersect? If it's not hard to get cheap gear, what's the pitch? How does it work?
With Canvas?
Yep.
I mean, Canvas for a regular, you know, Canvas for a kid growing up racing, I don't know that's necessarily the play, right? The play is that once you turn pro, you know, the SLR team, for example, there's an SLR Honda team with Mark Samuels that this year they're kind of doing essentially what I did. And they're selling real estate on the bike and the rider based on TV time and based on views and based on the amount of people that they're in front of every weekend. And I went a little bit on a different route. Like he's a little bit in the industry side. I'm a little bit outside the industry for the sense that like I was chasing tax dollars from big companies. It's marketing money that they're going to spend anyway. Make them be a part of the experience, bring them into Supercross, get them some tickets, bring them out there, have that be something that they're a part of, right? That's really where Canvas can kind of help, you know, bring some value for, say, to somebody that's racing at a professional level. At an amateur level, a mom and dad can definitely write off a set of gear to having their company logo on it and not support another gear company that's not necessarily supporting them.
And so, just getting more into your application, if I'm running Canvas, and so you help me get sponsors on that, or how does it work?
No, I mean I'm essentially applying you the chassis, right? Meaning I'm supplying you the blank canvas, if you will, to go out and raise sponsorship money and use as a billboard.
Got it. And it's working?
Would I say that that's Canvas's primary income? No. Canvas's primary income is right now coming from the fact that we are the only custom gear company on the market that's of scale. Meaning we produce probably 2,000 to 3,000 pieces a month just based on, you know, providing a custom service to people for motocross gear that no one else has entered the market on. And we're really the first to do it on the scale that we are.
And you're selling to the bigs? Like your stuff is like that?
Our stuff is on it's on a lot of the riders on the main event, both 250 and 450 class, and I can't say exactly who and etc. But yes, we do produce product all over the place, and we are pretty widespread.
Congrats, dude. That's sick. That's gotta feel good, kinda, no?
Still wish I was out there.
Yeah. Do you get to ride still or no?
I ride once in a while, more for fun, just off-road stuff now. I don't go to the track so much. I can still go the pace without my body being ready to go the pace. Things tear and
Getting
a
old.
lot easier. Yeah,
It's
starting to get stale.
And then are you selling to the manufacturers, or like a key guy is like, I want my gear to do this, and you build them something? Both, or is it more lines?
It depends. People do come to us and ask if we can make a one-off specialty item. We can, and we do, but only if the volume's behind it. Otherwise, we're really, essentially providing a chassis and giving an artwork platform for them to basically just paint the way that they need it to be.
All right, so I don't know if we can go here, and you can tell me if we can, but we got Alpine Stars, we've got Thor, we've got Vox, we've got FXR. Who am I missing? Fly. Are those most of the bigs?
Those are most of them. There's only about 6 or 7, yeah.
I've always wondered, are they all, like, their stuff is all getting made at the same, are they all getting their stuff made at the same place?
Things have changed a little bit since COVID. A lot of the stuff does get made in the same place overseas. Can't say exactly where, can't say exactly who, but yeah, most of the stuff. And it's just like the helmet manufacturers. A lot of the helmet technology comes out of the same facilities because it's such a unique product. Same with gear. There's only so many different ways and things that you can do to gear. So if a company is set up to mass produce motocross gear, it kind of makes sense that they manufacture multiple. It kind of makes it cheaper for everybody realistically.
Got it. And the designs are unique, or they're not? Are they like let's stay on gear, pants, jerseys, gloves?
Every gear company has their own template, their own piece, plus their own design team. Yeah, so they're completely.
So it is different gear. It's just made in the same place.
Correct.
If I said, you don't have to answer. I find Flies, and I'm a snowmobiler, so like I should be kindred to these people, but I'm objectively, the toughest gear that I have come is Fly. Fly stuff seems to last longer, better. Is that a fair statement, or is that like not categorically true? Does it depend, or is like they've always been?
Yeah, every gear company has multiple lines, right? But like you also have, if you look at each gear company, they kind of corner one sector of the market, right? So like I always chalk Fox up to like your diehard kind of high level top end gear, right? High end gear. Moose is like geared towards off-road. Fly has always been pretty neutral on kind of who I feel like they target to. Thor is also a bit neutral in some ways. So each gear company just tries to hit a little bit of a different demographic. I would say that Fly probably is straddling a little bit more on the durable, standard side of gear, not necessarily pushing the super high-end stuff, but has a solid foundation.
Got it. All right, next question. So let's say I represent an investor or 5 to 10 that are willing to they're ponying up, like they're ready to make $1 million investment. They want to be big into motocross. They want to see the sport change, but they also want to support the privateer. Would you recommend they reinforce an existing privateer team or go start their own? I'm not saying $1 million one and done, like $1 million a year, like in they've got some sort of creative marketing where they think that they can get an ROI on that, understanding that like as it sits today, it's gonna be really hard. Like where would you point them? Like go find a privateer team that's existing and put money behind it, or start a new?
I mean, $1 million sponsor would be a pretty high-end team sponsor for even a factory team.
And this group of investors don't want to support the prize. They're just privateers through and through. Yeah.
I mean, there's 1 or 2 teams that I would suggest to spend that money on that I think have the right foundation and lack the financial resource. Otherwise there's so many unknowns that I feel like a lot of people don't really understand about running a race team, what it takes, and rather than just having the equipment, it's I'm a big Formula One fan. Formula One is 90% car, 10% driver. I do feel like racing dirt bikes is a little bit on the opposite end. However, there's a safety component where if a motor breaks over a triple jump and you're flying through the air 60 feet, some bad shit's going to happen. And if anything breaks on a supercross track at any given moment, you're pretty much at like a 10% safety rate, right? And the other 90% that anything breaks, you're probably going to land on your head. So that's where, like, I never rode for a low-level team. I preferred to do it myself and race our own privateer program because I wanted to trust the equipment and know what I was putting underneath me rather than not, right? Now, can you go race and do pretty well on like a subpar bike with subpar equipment? You can probably do a lot better than, say, sticking Hamilton in a Williams Formula One car, right? But that's tough.
Do you think, like, I don't understand how Red Bull, Monster, Big are manufacturers. Like, why don't we have any, like, I don't understand how John Deere, Cat haven't picked it up. I don't understand, like, we're moving equipment all the time. Like, we move dirt. Like, a lot of our people are blue collar in the trade. Like, I mean, I know Bruntware is getting bigger into it, but, like, why is Toyota of Redlands in California the only, like, why is Chevy trucks out? Why is Ford not? Ram, like, how come? Do you have any idea? Like, why do we not have these bigger brands? Hardware stores, forgot the official hardware store of Moto, like, why are they not there?
Look at the dollar spend that they can put in a NASCAR and the views and the engagement that they can get there versus our sport.
Okay, so views, so I'm going to say big sponsor, question mark. You say views and engagement elsewhere. Why is the views and the engagement a problem?
Look at the engagement at our races that you go to. Look at the lack of licensing in our industry. Look at the lack of monetary value that you can get from sponsoring a team. I mean, there's so many better places, and this is a mutual feeling that I hate to be the person that feels this way, but I do feel a certain type of way when I talk about these big companies looking at our sport. I've spent a lot of time trying to get some of these big companies to look at our industry. I'll send you some stuff later. I had pitched like a Tide white pen, like my all white gear with like a Tide white pen, like as a motocross rider. I thought that would be hilarious. And what would it be for maybe $100,000 sponsorship from Tide to have like Tide gear? I pitched Amazon. I pitched all these companies. The problem is we just don't have the outreach in our sport that we should. I don't think that we monetize it. I don't think that we profit share. I don't think that we do some of the things that these other major sports organizations do. And I think that that's a turnoff for a lot of these big brands.
So we are a small fringe, right? Mostly small. If you didn't grow up riding dirt bikes, there's a small chance that you're turning on the TV and you're going to go through. I hate Peacock. I know Peacock's better. Like, a lot of people get mad at Jordan's group because I'm like, Peacock is like, whatever. I know it's better, but low probability that anybody's turning on Peacock to watch races unless they at some point owned a dirt bike. Fair to say?
Yeah.
And then what is that? Like, what, like, like people, Monster Jams, Spelled owns that, like, that does better. People are, is it a relatability issue? Is it because they don't understand it, or is it a cover? Like, what, from yours, I have my own opinion. I'm just curious how you see that.
That's a good question. I mean, Monster Jam is, I think mainly successful because of their YouTube. I don't know if it's the last time that you checked out the Monster Jam YouTube side of things. Crazy. Kids are going nuts over Monster Jam. I remember being a kid and like everything's relatable. Like, I had Tonka trucks and etc. But like, yeah, there was monster trucks and X, Y, and Z, right? Dirt bikes are a really big point of entry. You as a kid, you're never going to be like, oh, I want to drive monster trucks when I can, and then there you go, you got a monster truck in the driveway. That doesn't happen. It's a unachievable goal, where dirt bikes are achievable, but the price to entry is really high. People go ride BMX bikes because it's affordable. People that ride BMX bikes always want dirt bikes, but what's the problem? Why don't people that ride BMX bikes that are good race dirt bikes? It's too expensive. Your point of entry is borderline $8,000 to $10,000 just to be able to go see if you enjoy riding dirt bikes and have your own stuff.
Yeah, I feel like that's the problem, is you can't try it. It's very hard to try. There's rental shops popping up, but it's hard to go get the experience. But people buy mountain bikes, like people pay mountain bikes. Mountain bikes cost the same as a dirt bike.
But you can ride them anywhere. it's a bit of a different thing. You go to the track, it's a process. It's a whole added barrier.
So have you given up that our views will get where they need to be?
No, I haven't given up, and I definitely don't want to sound like the sport's just doomed and it's all over. I don't want to paint that picture. So if I'm painting that picture, no, I think that it is something that frustrates me because I've spent my entire life in this sport and I've sacrificed a lot for this industry. And I think that it should be better because I'm probably the same as you and the same as all of us that are all invested in the motocross industry. I think it's something that everyone should experience, and I think it's one of the coolest sports in the world. I think that we, as an industry, can be smarter. I think that we can be more creative. I think that we can look at what every other major sports organization is doing that we're not and make a lot of really quick progress towards where we want to be. But it takes people believing in that bigger picture. I'll share a personal example. This SMX jersey project is, to me, something that's really close to my heart, and it's something that I've always wondered why we don't have. 3 years ago, we started Lucid, and we started working with a lot of the major gear brands, and we're making all the race jerseys for all these guys, and I'm thinking, God, why don't we have a replica jersey program? You're a football fan, you can go buy a Tom Brady jersey. You can go buy a Brett Favre jersey right now. Brett Favre hasn't touched a football on an NFL field in 10 years, maybe more. He's still collecting a paycheck from that. And I think that that's a big educator in the NFL of keeping their names alive and keeping the history of that player moving and that team and that association. It's that heritage. Our sport sucks at heritage. There's kids that ride 65s that don't even know who Ricky Carmichael or Ryan Villapoto is. Imagine that in NFL. Imagine a kid that's playing football not knowing who Tom Brady is. It's not going to happen. Tom Brady is massively franchised. We can go sell David Bailey SMX jerseys. He hasn't touched a motorcycle in 40 years. I don't know if it's been 40 years, but give or take. How have we not caught on to that? And how is it not something that I think we're, all dying to push and dying to see? The problem that I've run into is you go do a regular royalty deal on an NFL team. NFL only has a player and a team. Of course, the team has sponsors. It's got a million sponsors and Gatorade and et cetera and clothing brands. But a motorcycle rider has a Monster Energy tied to a Yamaha, tied to, 50 other logos on his jersey, tied to a gear company, tied to the team, tied to the series. How do you divvy that money out? How do you go to the team and say, hey team, I want to have team logos on this jersey. We're only going to be able to afford to pay you, say, 5%. Well, they'll come back and they want 15%. Then you go to the rider and say, hey, rider, I'm going to give you, a round numbers, say 20% royalty. Some of these riders want 50%. So by the time that you go to the team, the gear company, the series, have all just your royalty package built in, I'm going to make the jersey for 10%, and then I'm going to include my costs and my customer service and the shipping and the logistics and all the other stuff based on 10%? You can't build an industry like this, and you can't build a project that I think that can grow and be something that in the NFL, for example, is a $2 billion industry.
Just jerseys.
NFL is a $2 billion industry. And, you've got our sport where a lot of the riders don't want to sell a replica jersey because they think it's going to devalue their race jerseys. Go look at what happened when NFL came out with replica jerseys. Game-worn jerseys went 4, 5, 6 times the value that they used to be because they were more of a rare commodity than all the replica jerseys that flooded the market. And not only that, everyone monetized the piss out of that stuff. So I'm here as a rider trying to build a way where a Cooper Webb and an Aaron Plessinger can go and make an extra 6 figures a year on a replica jersey. The team gets more notoriety, the rider gets more notoriety. Those jerseys will be around for God knows how long, but like use a Progressive for example. Progressive is on, don't shoot me, I could be wrong on this, but I believe Progressive is on Cooper Webb's actual race jersey. I could be wrong. But say that I go to Fly and I pay Fly a royalty, and then I pay the team a royalty, right? And then I say, hey, Progressive, I need you to sign this authorization for me to use the Progressive logo on Cooper Webb's jersey. In my opinion, Progressive is paying Cooper Webb's team to be on Cooper Webb's jersey for what? Eyeballs. Branding.
Yeah.
So if I can't get them to sign that release for me not paying them to use that logo, but I go sell, say, 5,000 Cooper Webb jerseys that year, is that not 5,000 more billboards the Progressive logo is seen on from here for the next 10 to 15 years? Because that's the way that I would look at it. That's looking at it in terms of growth. But our industry wants to penny pinch every single thing because there's not enough money in it, and they want 15 to 20% of everything, and it makes it unsustainable. So our sport, I think, is thinking bigger. It is growing in the right direction. There's huge changes happening right now in the industry. The SMX League, for example, there is big changes being done in the industry that are definitely going the right way, and it's about damn time. It's awesome to see. But we've got to have such a big shift internally to all work together for the bigger picture of this industry and trying to get it to be a better place, to where I think then if we can do that and we can increase the revenue that we can show in this industry, we will get the bigger companies to want to come in and be a part of it, like the Chevys and et cetera, like you were talking about before. But between that and now, there's a long way to go. There's a long way to go, and I think that there's a lot of just fundamental change and, ironically, education that needs to happen from the rider, the team, and all the other aspects of the industry.
So I don't know if you know anything about me, but I run a semi-successful construction company, and everything for me is about culture, right? We managed to scale from 4 to 100 million, and we're on the path to $1 billion. It's really cool. Everything's about culture. So everything you spoke to me is like there's a disjointed, and I just say it's broken. It's like a broken culture chain to me. Is everything you talked about as like one hand? There's too many. Would you agree with that categorization?
I think the culture is there. I think that it needs to be brought together and find a way to market it and find a way to tell the story of our sport and be able to like do the Johnny O's and the Ricky Johnsons and the David Baileys and the DeCosters and these guys, and like, you know, you go back into Formula One, and for me it's the Ayrton Sennas, it's the Fangios, it's these guys that have been so iconic that they're just as famous today as, say, Michael Schumacher or a Lewis Hamilton. Jet Lawrence didn't know who I think it was Hunter Lawrence. I think Hunter Lawrence didn't know who Ricky Johnson was when they did the Ricky Johnson edition Honda a couple years ago. Our sport sucks at culture, sucks at it. We've got to find a way to be better. And again, back to the replica jersey program, it is a tool that I think that can be used and help to retell the stories of yesterday for the people to be more attached to the sport, to understand who these guys are.
I heard you say tell the story, which I've been wondering, like, why don't we have our Drive to Survive? Like, why is that? Do you know who's stymieing that? Like, I know a couple of the people that felt that. I'm like, why not? There's so many storylines. Like, it should be. Why is it not?
That's a good question.
Do you know and you can't say it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think that anyone's looking at our industry. I think MotoGP is going to get that story way before we are.
MotoGP, is that the crowd tracker racing?
That's
MotoGP.
like,
you're talking the Europe or Europe?
Yeah, the European road racing stuff.
And do they have a better program? Is their program better? They have a better. It is. They're in.
MotoGP is the, like, Marc Marquez. You've heard of him?
I'm bad. No.
Valentino Rossi.
No.
Okay.
I don't pay attention to international moto. I barely tune into mine.
This is all like road racing stuff. I raced MXGP, which is equivalent to our outdoor program. Different in its own way for sure, but like I'm talking MotoGP is like 100 years ahead of Moto for us.
Is Moto what kind? It's dirt bikes or it's not?
No, it's road racing.
Oh, okay. It's cross driving.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right. That's what I thought. I didn't. Yeah, got it. Okay. But so I guess like, and you don't, if you prefer not to say, you don't have to. But like, I look at the AMA and I wonder, what are you doing for us? And I look at Pels and I'm like, can we do better? And is that like, do you find accountability there, or where's the gap? That it seems that the rider is so far away from the viewer, is so far away from the profit center, and then it's just, I feel like if we painted the web, it would be so disjointed. It would be one of the most disjointed and misaligned. There's no harmony. Like, we're not all, like, there's no mutual winning, I feel. And that's where I feel the middle class of moto is going. But
it's a tough question, because I think that you could blame everyone to a certain extent. The series in the last 5 years has made more change than arguably the last 20, and I think that that's really positive. When it comes to riders, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is doing licensing deals at 7 to 10%, right? These riders want 80%. These riders want 60%. You know, there's an education process there that I think that our sport really needs to figure out as well. It's not just it's one person or the other. These teams, you know, arguably can say that, well, so-and-so that won a championship isn't so-and-so without the team. It's not wrong. But never say that you're the guy risking your life on the motorcycle either. You know, and I think that it all comes down to, again, our sport's so small and we're not willing to get out of our own way to work together to grow the sport.
It's interesting. So you put, and I didn't know that, so a lot of the standards for the rider is to ask for too much in the licensing, so then there's no deals like we had. So instead of taking a little bit of a
I think that one of the main pillars of why our sport hasn't done a lot bigger things in our industry is because everyone wants too big of a piece of the pie, and there's not enough. There just isn't. But there's never going to be if we never start somewhere, right? So we're just going to
make a bigger pie.
Well, yeah, you, of course, make it a bigger pie, but you've got to start somewhere to grow the audience.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, what did I not talk about that you'd like to talk about?
You know, I mean, I could talk about why I think our sport hasn't grown to be what it can be, and again, I've got a lot of frustration there just internally because of things that I've been through. But yeah, man, it's a tough industry, and I think it's something that should be shared more and should be appreciated and respected worldwide. And we're on our way. We're making steps and chipping away at it, but I think it's such a deep-rooted problem, and it's not just one side of the industry. I think it's collective.
Yeah, just look at what there was talk that he was going to buy it. What's his name? Dana White.
Dana White.
Yeah, what he did with UFC. I'm like, dude, we're due for one of those. And I don't think it's the person necessarily, but like, anyway, I think there's a lot there, man. Do you agree? Do you watch the races? Like, I like bitch about the coverage of the races. Like, I almost feel like we should not watch it live. Like, you should recap that stuff. Like, and like, I feel like every rider should have a camera, and like, there should be heart rate sensors, and we should you should see every battle. If you're gonna watch something for 4 hours, like, you cannot miss things. It's like, and I don't want to bring this up. Like, I'm a big PS4 fan. Like, I grew up in Illinois. My buddy used to race him. Like, dude, his big crash on the I think it was the championship. Like, we spent 30 minutes watching Hunter and Jet crying about the wrong brother getting first place. No, we didn't. You had to watch somebody's phone camera of Chase's crash. Like, I don't know. Am I alone? Am I just a freaking buddy-duddy? Like, I just don't think the coverage is there. Like, if I invited 100 people to go watch motocross and said, this is the most exciting thing ever, I don't think 20 of them are like, thank you for putting me through. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, dude, to sit at a gate, I don't know if there's a more thrilling moment in sports. To sit at a fucking gate and watch, like, the bike is running through you. Like, it's like the loudest, most intense moment. And I just don't think any of that comes through in the broadcast for me. And no disrespect to the broadcasters, but I'm like, that sport is not thrilling to watch on TV unless you like rode a dirt bike. I think we can do better there. You can tell me I'm off.
I mean, I think that there's a lot more to catch. I think that there's a lot better stories that we could tell about the riders. I think that there's a way that we connect an audience to so many better stories. You know, what's relatable and what's not. How do you catch all these moments? How do we have live cams on all these bikes? You know, like Formula One, that you can go straight into Verstappen's car versus Carlos Sainz's car, right? And you can go straight to the live onboard, and you can hear the audio between the team and the driver. I mean, yeah, is our stuff a little bit basic per se? I can't disagree with that.
I'll get off my high horse. How do we protect the tracks? We got to protect the tracks. I feel like
that's a serious problem. That's a problem that I think is way bigger than people imagine. I mean, insurance companies are pulling out of California like left and right, and obviously motocross is like the last thing that I think that insurance companies are probably going to want to insure, just based off of history. I mean, you've got a lot of dumb people showing up to the track doing a lot of stupid things that's not helping anybody. You know, you've got people that are getting hurt that are suing tracks that are damaging that even worse. Yeah, I mean, protecting the tracks is a big deal.
Speaking of not making money, I mean, there's no money in owning a track unless you're like doing venues. It literally is a community service back to the community, and like, I don't know, that worries me, man. That worries me.
It is scary.
I just can't understand why we sue our own. I mean, that's like accidents happen, and like if the lawyers get a hold of it and they don't know what to do. You didn't get on a dirt bike. Anyway, I don't want to get into that, but that is like, it's a freaking that one's a fight worth having. Is there anything we can do to gas up any of your businesses, spread any word, anything like that before I cut you loose? I appreciate you coming on.
No, it's always cool. I always love to chat about just different stuff. Definitely don't want to make it sound like I hate the sport. I don't. I'm living in the sport and trying to make it better every day because I love it. But I'm also making those changes because I'm frustrated with it, and I'd like to see it be a better place.
A healthy discontent. I learned that in college somewhere. You got to push for better.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Would love your comments. If you didn't like it, let me know why. If you think there'd be an interesting conversation to have, like forward it on to somebody and say, hey, we should talk about it. There's a lot of really awesome stuff in motocross. Like I said, it's hard to watch right now. Maybe one day we'll have a conversation with the people that own it and see if we can't push to do in motocross what they did with UFC. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Better Questions podcast. If you have questions or comments on this episode, feel free to reach out to us through our website, which you'll find in the show notes below. We also have a Linktree page that lists most, if not all, of the sites that stream the Better Questions podcast, and you'll find a link to that in the show notes as well. So you can click on that, find your favorite site, click on over and subscribe, and you'll never miss another episode. Thank you for listening. This continues to be an interesting journey, and we're happy to have you along for the ride.